Ben Winks.
He'll be making $8 million a year in Michigan.
Understood. Trent Noop.
He will be the highest paid coach in all of football.
Also understood. This is the 2 Point Stance podcast.
Daddy turned around the University of Michigan.
This is a world premiere. This is a world premiere.
All right, what is up? It's Ben flying solo tonight on the 2 Point Stance podcast. Trent is elsewhere. Got a lot of stuff to talk about tonight. We have the national title game tomorrow. Oregon versus Ohio State. It's going to be a really good game, everyone. I know everybody's thinking Oregon's going to run away with this, but don't think that just yet. As Lee Corso would say, not so fast. We'll get into that in a little bit. I'm going to have a spirited discussion on Roger Goodell and the situation he has found himself in recently. And I will absolutely eviscerate my Cleveland Cavaliers for their lackluster and god-awful performances for the last, 3 months, beginning in the preseason. But first, let's start at the college football playoffs. They've been a huge success so far. I have been thoroughly pleased by the way the games have played. If you look at how it would have turned out in the BCS system, it would have been Florida State, the undefeated team for the last 2 years in the regular season, going against Alabama in the title game. Now, as the playoff has shown, neither one of those two teams would deserve to be in the national title game. Alabama was beat by Ohio State. Florida State was absolutely boat raced by Oregon. Now, looking back, I don't think any of us thought that Florida State was a legitimate team this year. They just found ways not to lose. They never really won. Does that make sense? Follow me with this. The Florida State team from last year was probably the best team I've ever seen play college football. It was ridiculous. They were blowing everyone out. They had so much talent across the field. They just annihilated everybody. This year, they came from behind. They were down. It seemed like every week. It just wasn't as smooth. Jameis was making poor decisions. Oregon plays fast. They have great athletes all over the field. Florida State just couldn't handle it. But because they were undefeated, they would have made it into the BCS title game. And Alabama had a inefficient quarterback who was prone to make mistakes. They would have made it strictly because they were 12-1 and won the SEC. Now, clearly, Ohio State deserved to make it into the playoff. Looking back, though, Ohio State is the better team between Ohio State and Alabama. Not just because they won the game, they're just more complete, offense and defense. Looking at the game, the Sugar Bowl, I don't know what Lane Kiffin was doing. Alex Henry was running all over the Ohio State defense, and then he just got cute. He started having these fake plays, and they were trying to fool the Ohio State defense rather than just running over them like they had been. It didn't make any sense to me. That's why they lost the game. If they would have just ran it down Ohio State's throat, I'm not sure if they could have stopped them. Ohio State made plays when they needed to. The defense confused Blake Sims when they needed to. The national title game is between the 2 and the 4 seed, Oregon and Ohio State. But like I said, in the BCS system, it would have been Alabama, Florida State for the national title, and those two teams did not deserve to be there this year based on the way that the playoffs turned out. Ohio State, everybody thinks, will get beat by Oregon, including Trent, who predicts a score of 45-38 Oregon. Like I said earlier, not so fast. Ohio State can run with anybody. They have athletes all over the field. Their defense is fast. Their offense is fast. They play fast. Now, I understand Oregon's used to that because they practice against that offense that's very fast. But Ohio State's defensive line is big, man. They are big. I'm not so sure if Oregon will be able to maintain their pace against that defensive line. That being said, I'm not sure if Ohio State will be able to keep their defensive linemen fresh enough to keep up with the pace either. That's why I think it's a toss-up. I seem to think that Ohio State will win. I'm an Ohio State fan, granted. But seeing them play Alabama the way that they played Alabama, I think they have a chance. Ohio State, like I said, can run with anybody. Cardale Jones has a cannon. He can throw it 100 miles an hour and 100 miles through the air, probably, if he really wanted to. He didn't come to play school like he told you. He came here to play football, and that's what he's been doing. He's been doing a decent job for a first-time starter in his first 2 games. Ezekiel Elliott's been running like a man possessed. The Oregon offense is also hurt by the fact that Darren Carrington has been suspended for a drug violation. That's not going to help, obviously. The leading receiver for the last 2 games being out for that offense, a big play threat that they need, that kind of handicaps him a little bit. Now, I understand that Marcus Mariota is still there. They will still have him for the game. But that being said, that's one less target to throw to, one less explosive guy. That's one less guy Ohio State has to cover. And Oregon is just going to be next man up. We'll get the next man up and it'll be fine. But will it? I'm not sure. It's going to be a great game. Definitely tune in. 8:30 ESPN. We'll talk about Roger Goodell after this. Ben Winks. If I'm being honest, I have no idea what I'm doing. Trent Noop.
We're losing by 30, but good job. You guys got it. Yeah.
This is the 2 Point Stance podcast.
Are you done?
Yes.
Good.
Alright, we're back on the 2 Point Stance podcast. 2 years ago, Bountygate. Big deal in the NFL. The Saints were hit with penalties for their bounty system. Greg Williams supposedly paid players to injure or hurt players on the opposing team, and this was frowned upon. The NFL launched an investigation of the Saints, and Roger Goodell, the ham-handed commissioner of the NFL 2 years ago, told the Saints that, quote, ignorance was not a suitable defense for the situation. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't really care that Roger Goodell told him that ignorance was not a defense. That's fine. That's his opinion. He's the commissioner. But let's look at this Ray Rice thing. Oh, I didn't see the video. I didn't know. Well, did you even try to get it? According to the report that was launched this week, no, you didn't see the video. That's fine. But you also didn't try to. How did TMZ get the tape? Harvey Levin, TMZ. How did they get the Ray Rice videotape and the NFL, the National Football League, could not, or did not in this case? What kind of defense is that? I understand that because they didn't see it, they weren't culpable to know what was on the tape, but Ray Rice didn't lie to the commissioner. A separate arbiter determined that Ray Rice did not lie to or mislead the commissioner about what went on in that elevator in Atlantic City with Janae Rice. Roger Goodell completely got taken behind the woodshed and was made to look like a fool. I don't understand why he is still the commissioner. He got up in front of the country and lied to our faces. Oh, I had no idea what happened on the elevator. What do you think happened, Roger? A woman was dragged out of an elevator by her fiancé and she was unconscious. Let's do some quick math. What the hell do you think happened in that damn elevator? I mean, what's this, rocket science? Come on, Roger. And then when he got up in front of the press at his press conference to talk about what happened, well, we need to protect our house. We need to clean our house. We need to do things better. Yeah, you do. You need to get the hell out. Roger Goodell should no longer be the commissioner of the NFL. I'm sorry. There's no excuse. You didn't know what was on the tape because you didn't see it? Let's think about this. How many ways could that have gone down? I mean, was Gallagher in there knocking around with a sledgehammer? I mean, come on, Roger. Really? This is what you're going to do? It's unbelievable. He hit the Saints with a fine and a penalty, unprecedented penalties, because ignorance is not an excuse. Yet here he is, cowering behind the shield of ignorance. Yeah, that's what I want my leader to do. I didn't know. I didn't know what was on the tape because I didn't see it. Nor did you try to see it, Roger. Unbelievable. The commissioner of the most powerful sports league in the country was not able or did not choose to obtain all the evidence in a case. You know why? He's probably just trying to make up the rules as he goes along still. From the beginning, Roger Goodell has made up the rules as he's gone along. All of these things should be collectively bargained, and most of them are. But does he follow them? No, of course not. He's the judge and the jury. It's unbelievable. There's no reason that Roger Goodell should hear appeals of his own suspensions. Okay, Adam Pac-Man Jones, I'm going to hit you with a 4-game suspension. Adam Jones would like to appeal his suspension. So he will go have his appeal heard by the exact same man who handed him his original sentence. What's he going to do? Look at his notes and say, you know what, Roger, you were dumb. I don't understand, Roger, why you decided to give Pac-Man Jones that suspension. That doesn't make any sense. You know what, Roger? What, Roger? No suspension. Oh, okay, Roger. No, Roger Goodell is always going to uphold what he says originally. There's no point to appeal. I don't understand how that happens. How does the appeal get heard by the person who made the original ruling? That makes no sense. He makes up the rules as he goes along. There's little to no consistency. Ben Roethlisberger gets hit with sexual assault allegations. 6 games, he gets reduced to 4. Ray Rice knocks out his fiancée in an Atlantic City elevator. Big domestic abuse scandal. 2 games. Does that make sense? No. Doesn't make any sense at all. There should be some precedent, some consistency, some uniform decision-making shown by the commissioner. What he does makes no sense to me. I don't understand why he's still in power. He looks like a fool. He's not a good public speaker. He doesn't lead well. It's unbelievable. The NFL needs to get rid of Roger Goodell right now. Now, I know that won't happen because people in the media, fans like myself, like you, we don't have any power. All we do is have conversation about it. Oh, Roger Goodell should be fired. That's an opinion. That's my opinion. But does my opinion actually matter? No, because it's the owners that have that decision, and I understand that, but I don't agree with it. I don't agree with Roger Goodell being the commissioner of the National Football League. Now, I'm not saying I could do the job, but I don't think he can do it very well either. Coming up next, we'll hit the NBA with the Cleveland Cavaliers and their atrocious play on the 2 Point Stance podcast. Ben Winks. Okay, but think about this. Trent Noop.
What's your point?
This is the 2 Point Stance podcast. No. Welcome back. 2 Point Stance podcast. The Cleveland Cavaliers have fallen into the crevasse. Tonight, they lost to the Sacramento Kings. And I have to tell you, I'm just about done with this team right now. They traded away Dion Waiters, which I was happy with. But they got back J.R. Smith, who is an older, tattooed version of Dion Waiters. He shoots too much. He doesn't play defense. He's selfish. All he does is want to put up shots. I watched a game last year where J.R. Smith took 22 threes in one game. That broke an NBA record held by Damon Stoudemire. 22 threes in one game. In the same deal, though, they also got Iman Shumpert. I do like that they got Iman Shumpert. He's a wing defender. At least that's what he has done in the past. And that's what Cleveland needs. They need a wing that can defend the perimeter. That being said, he hasn't played much defense this year, and out of 201 qualified players, he's ranked as the 192nd best perimeter defender. So that doesn't sound like he's doing very much defending on the perimeter, which is what they need. They also traded away 2 first-round picks to get Denver center Timofey Mozgov. The one thing he's known for is having Blake Griffin absolutely posterize him when he was with the Knicks. Mozgoved. It's a verb. I don't understand the need to get Mozgov only because he played for David Blatt on the Russian national team. I'm fine with getting Mozgov, but I think that's the only reason why they went after him. He's he's 7'1", he's Denver's defensive anchor, I understand that. But he's only 34th in rim protection. Anderson Varejao was 51st, so is it an upgrade? Yes, it's an upgrade, but is it a major upgrade? I'm not sure. I don't think it is. The fact that they traded 2 first-round picks, which they could have coupled probably with Brendan Haywood's expiring contract to get Kosta Koufis, who is 6th in rim protection, doesn't make sense to me. They're not playing hard. I understand LeBron's injured, but this team just isn't doing anything like what I thought they would. In the NBA preview, which I wrote for the 2 Point Stance blog, I predicted that the Cavs would go 64-18 and win the Central. They've already lost 18 games. They're not doing very well. And there's no way they're going to win 45 straight games to close out the year either. That's not going to happen. They're not playing together. They seem disinterested. Kevin Love doesn't seem happy. Kyrie still has his bad habits from just shooting and shooting and shooting and then shooting some more. LeBron hasn't seemed like the same player. I don't think that the players have any respect for David Blatt. I don't see that on the sidelines when I look. I don't see that on the bench when I look over in the game. David Blatt seems to be ignored in the timeout huddles. LeBron seems to be leading those or talking to Tyronn Lue. It's just not a good situation in Cleveland right now. I don't understand it. It seems like there's almost a curse over the franchise. Now, I understand curses aren't real. But the fact that they can't win with all the talent that they have on the roster just doesn't seem to add up to me. Something has to be happening. Either LeBron is tired of playing 82 games in the regular season when he knows he doesn't have to in the East, or he's legitimately injured. It remains to be seen. But I really hope that the Cavs can turn around what's going on right now, because they don't look like they're going to get out of the first round. Right now, they're the 5 seed. They'd play Chicago in the first round, and I think Chicago would take them in 5. With the way Pau Gasol has been playing recently, Jimmy Butler, Nikola Mirotic looks like a Rookie of the Year candidate. The top of the East is stacked compared to Cleveland. I don't want to see Atlanta in the first round. I don't want to see Toronto in the first round. I don't want to see Washington in the first round. I don't want to see Chicago in the first round. So they're going to have to put together a win streak at some point to vault their way back up toward the top of the East. That way they don't have to see any of those teams until later on in the playoffs. They'd be taken in 5 or 6 by every team in the West right now also in the playoffs. The top 8 in the West would take Cleveland in 5 or 6 because they don't play defense. Some nights they don't play offense very well either. But they certainly don't play defense. And that's not going to win you anything. This has been the 4th edition of the 2 Point Stance podcast. Thank you for listening and have a wonderful night.